Koi presents The Monsters of Kampala. A Koi original series written by Joel Gunayaka. Chapter 2, Early Hunch. The thick scent of diesel and spices hung over Owino Market, where Nyeko moved like a shadow through a crowd of bustling vendors and chattering customers. He kept his head low and his eyes scanning, taking in the city he knew only from memory and whispers. The old man's network, the Okello intelligence as they called it, had once stretched across every neighborhood and corner of Kampala. He was here to resurrect it piece by piece. Ahead, he spotted his contact, a young man in a red cap and faded jeans selling bundles of M.O.K. Nyeko approached him carefully, giving a slight nod. The man didn't acknowledge him. He simply handed over a bundle wrapped in cloth. As he walked away, Nyeko allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. His network was reawakening, and with it, the secrets of Kampala would once again be within his grasp. As the day wore on, Nyeko retreated to a modest apartment tucked into the outskirts of town. Inside, he unwrapped the bundle, revealing not just M.O.K, but a small slip of paper hidden within. Scrawled on it in shaky handwriting was a name, Jabari Mukasa. It was a name that brought a flicker of recognition. Mukasa had been a lieutenant under his grandfather, a man tasked with keeping tabs on the other mafia families. If there was anyone left who might know what happened that night 20 years ago, it was him. According to the note, Mukasa could be found at a bar called the Crocodile's Tooth, a grimy hole in the wall on the edge of town. Nyeko entered the Crocodile's Tooth just after dusk, the dim lights casting an amber glow over faded walls and sticky floors. The place was nearly empty, save for a few patrons nursing their drinks. Behind the bar, a surly bartender watched Nyeko with mild interest. "Looking for Mukasa," Nyeko said, his voice low but clear. The bartender's eyes narrowed. "And who might you be?" Nyeko leaned forward, keeping his gaze steady. "Tell him the Okello's grandson is here." A flicker of recognition crossed the bartender's face, and he disappeared through a door behind the counter. Moments later, he returned, nodding toward a booth in the back corner. Nyeko took a steadying breath and moved toward it. Jabari Mukasa sat hunched over a glass, his dark-lined face barely visible in the dim light. Age had softened the man, who had once been a lion of the Kampala underworld, yet his eyes still held a glint of sharpness. He looked up as Nyeko slid into the booth across from him, studying him with a guarded expression. "I knew your grandfather," Mukasa said without preamble. "Knew him well." Nyeko nodded. "Then you know why I'm here." Mukasa took a sip of his drink, his gaze distant. "I know why you think you're here. You hunger for revenge. But tell me this, boy. Do you even know who pulled the trigger?" Nyeko clenched his fists under the table, keeping his voice calm. "But I know that you do." Mukasa let out a bitter laugh. "Your grandfather was a good man, Nyeko, but he wasn't a saint. He kept powerful secrets, things that could have brought down men in every high office and dark alley in this city. Some of those men had reason to want him gone." "Who?" Nyeko pressed. Mukasa's eyes shifted, wary. "You're not the only one watching, boy. There are eyes in every corner. If I speak a name aloud, they'll know, and I won't live to see another sunrise." Nyeko leaned closer. "Well, last I checked, you are a well-educated man." Mukasa hesitated, his eyes darting toward the bar. After a tense moment, he pulled a pen and napkin from his pocket and scribbled something onto the paper. He slid it across the table to Nyeko without meeting his eyes. As Nyeko picked up the napkin, Mukasa grabbed his wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. "Listen to me, boy. Once you start down this path, there's no turning back. You'll be up against men with power, men who control this country in ways you can't imagine." Nyeko tried to pull his wrist free, his eyes cold. "I've been waiting my whole life for this." Mukasa gave him a sad smile, one that seemed almost pitying. "You're still young, Nyeko. Revenge doesn't come without a cost." With that, he released Nyeko and turned back to his drink, his gaze distant once more. Nyeko didn't linger. He slipped the napkin into his pocket and left the crocodile's tooth without a backward glance. Back in his apartment, Nyeko unrolled the napkin, his heart pounding. Written in Mukasa's shaky hand was a single name: Omari Tadeo. Nyeko glared. He'd heard the name in passing before, whispered in rumors that carried through Kampala's back alleys and darkened corners. Omari was a powerful figure in the country's criminal underworld, a man who was as wealthy as he was dangerous. But it was his connection to a rising tech empire, Zola Innovations, that had catapulted him into Kampala's elite. If Tadeo had been involved in his grandfather's assassination, Nyeko knew he would need more than just street smarts to confront him. He would need allies, and he had one idea of where to start. Monsters of Kampala.